What is happening, fishers? Welcome to Untraceable Studios. So tonight we're going to look at some tackle care products, what to use and what not to use. I'm not going to go into full aspect of breaking down reels. There are some other videos, if you go back onto our YouTube page and have a look, of me doing some minor service to reel. I'm not a reel service technician, so I just do some minor services. I do services, but I'm not going to put those on camera. You guys might roast me at the stake. So let's just look at some different products that are safe and what's not too safe to use on your fishing tackle, guys. A lot of guys, I think their biggest, everyone pulls out what we call multi-spray, or multi-spray's cousin, silicone spray, guys. Brilliant stuff, nice for loosening nuts and bolts that are rusty. Not great for inside your reels. A lot of guys will spray this inside their reels. The reason is it's going to work to an extent. They are designed to break stuff down. So they're going to start breaking the grease and your oil in your reels down. The times we do this on fishing tackle, if you have corrosion in your reels, a brilliant product to use if you have a little screw that's stuck, you have some corrosion on the handle, or if you do open your reel and you find some of your gears or bearings have a bit of corrosion on, then I'd say use multi-spray. But be smart enough that once you've used the multi-spray to get the thing loose, that either the gear or the bearing is washed off and cleaned off nicely, that there is no multi-spray residue left behind afterwards. Otherwise, when you do grease that gear or oil that bearing, it's just going to push it off. Bit of a hydrophobic product, so it stops water from penetrating those parts, so it's going to stop your grease from penetrating those parts and the oil from protecting those parts. So multi-spray, to be safe, brilliant. Use it on the outside of the reel, never put it on the inside of your reel. Then Glue Devil and Q-Fish. There are some other brands out there brought out some brilliant things. Q-Fish have brought out Q-Fish, I believe, by the stuff. And Glue Devil, they're called a Catch 'em tackle spray. In hindsight, it is a multi-spray. They've just designed formulas that are fishing tackle safe. So you're probably thinking, what the hell is fishing tackle safe? Well, guys, it's pretty much going to stop your line being destroyed. So when you are spraying on the outside of your reel, and some of this does get onto your braid or your mono or your copolymer, whatever sort of line you got on your reel, it's not going to in any way affect or damage the fishing line on your reel. So I'd say instead of going the multi-spray way, rather look for one of these fishing tackle safe products. Also brilliant products if you have come back and you washed your reel off, dried it off, and you want to get a bit of shine into your reel, make your reel look nice and brand new again. 2 drops on a cloth, give your reel a nice wipe. We rod a nice wipe and you get a nice glistening effect back on your reel. So it does help protect, and also leaves a nice little protective layer on your reel for when you do get back down to the surf and some salt air lands on your reel, just to keep that salt from penetrating all those parts that can start corroding. So the sprays I'd leave for all on the outside of the reel, guys. Then we're going to move on to Corrosion Block. Brilliant product also to lubricate your reels, especially if you're storing your reels for a long time. A lot of guys will take a rag, spray a lot of Corrosion Block in the rag, wipe that reel down, even leave the reel wrapped up in that rag to stop air and pollutants or salt air if you are close to the ocean from getting onto your reel and destroying your reel. I know some guys don't fish the reel for years. They leave them in the cupboard, they take them out and they've corroded. So that is a good way to stop it. You also find that a lot of the eyes, even though they are full stainless steel eyes, you normally get a little bit of rusting at the foot of the eye for some reason. Not quite sure why that happens, but Corrosion Block does get rid of that and protect your eyes in future. And also if you don't have stainless steel eyes and you've got normal steel eyes or things like that, some of your rods might not have stainless steel eyes. Not everyone has a top tier rod with full stainless steel eyes. Once you get back a little bit of Corrosion Block on the eyes, it's just going to keep your eyes going longer and save you some money from having to replace those eyes. So those are the spray things. Anything that spray, I believe, lives on outside of the reel or on a rod, never inside the reel. That's my personal belief. Then we look at the inside of the reel, guys. So I go by one simple rule. A lot of guys use oil for this, grease for that. If it's a gear, you grease it. If it's a bearing, you oil it. There are some guys that use grease on bearings, nothing wrong with it. Just that most of my reels have sealed bearings or shielded bearings, so it doesn't allow me to get grease onto my bearings. I'll use oil where it can penetrate those seals or those shields. So a lot comes down to the type of grease and type of oil using. Make sure if you're using a grease with the right viscosity. You don't want a grease that's too thin, and after a couple of turns, the grease is going to run out or run off your gears, or a viscosity that's too high, that's clumping up, and you get a lot of build up around one gear. So make sure you got a marine grade grease. I think the one on anyone's shelf you will find, Pen. It's a nice blue grease. I hope this one's still blue. Nice bluey color inside. I think hands down, that's probably the best grease available in the South African market to get. So if you are looking for some grease for your reel, use the Pen grease. And when you are coming to look at oils, also make sure you're getting a decent oil. If you haven't got the chance to get to proper fishing reel oil, your Singer or Zinger, I think it's Singer, 3-in-1 oil does make a good oil. A lot of guys use silicone oils. I particularly don't like using silicone oils though. Otherwise, get yourself a good reel oil. And then when should you be using your grease in your oil? So your oil, if possible, every time you fish. Not saying explode your whole reel and put it into pieces, but on your spinning reels, on the handle and on the little knob on the other side of the handle, take them off, a drop of oil in each side every time you fish, give the reel a few spins, or your spool off, and sometimes the reel got a little bit of a bearing on top of the spool. Put a drop on there every time you fish. It's going to make your reels last a lot longer. When it comes to greasing, obviously that's going to be when you're taking your reel apart or you're taking your reel in to be taken apart. Reels should be serviced, a full serviced at least once a year. Even if that reel hasn't been fished with, put in the cupboard, I'd say service it. The grease can go hard over time, even though it's not been fished with. Just being sealed up like that. So service your reels, I'd say once a year. For the guys that are fishing hard, it depends how hard you're fishing. So if you're fishing extremely hard every 2 or 3 months, or if you have a reel that is non-sealed and for some reason you get a big wave going over it, you're waiting for the surf and you take a bit of a swim and you get a lot of water penetrating that reel, make sure when you get home you get that reel pulled apart, that water taken out, and replace the grease. The one thing about the grease is once it has water and salt intrusion into the grease, it actually destroys the grease, guys. Salt and grease do not like each other, and like oil and water. So make sure that grease does get replaced. So do make sure you spend an extra bit of money, rather get a better quality grease. It's going to save you time in the long run. It's going to save you money in the long time having to replace a reel. And then when it comes to, you get some very specialized greases on there. I'm fortunate enough to have a little starter pack. Hopefully this stuff will be coming to the country soon. Really specialized greases, guys. So I think it's called Juthlon. I don't know even how to pronounce it probably. They pretty much have a drag washer grease, which is specifically to put onto a special grease for carbon, the right viscosity for carbon drag washers. They have a semi-fluid grease, which is a brilliant grease to put onto bearings in your roller bearing and things like that, a little bit low viscosity. Sorry, that was that one. And then they have the real gear grease, which is the right viscosity for your gears on your reel. So a lot of guys are going to say, when do we oil or grease our drag washers in a reel? So just a quick one. When it comes to drag washers, if you have felt drag washers, you see on your box, it'll say oiled felt drag washers. Felt drag washers need to be oiled. So you need to use a real oil on felt. The reason why we oil them, felt is a material, and when it heats up, it starts burning. So you don't want your washer to heat up under extreme load, or if you've got a fish running off extremely fast. So the oil is just going to help dissipate the heat on the felt drag washer. Is going to make your washers last a lot longer and stop you from your felt washers burning up and your reel starts sticking and things like that. So felt washers, oil. Carbon drag washers is a bit of a, you either carbon drag washers, you either grease them or you don't grease them, guys. There's no right or wrong. I like to put a thin film of grease on my carbon drag washers for the type of fishing I'm doing. But I know there's a lot of guys out there that are fishing really, really heavy and they're using their reels to the maximum drag. None of my reels I'm using to the maximum drag at the moment. So if you think of cars brakes, first of all, carbon doesn't burn, so you don't have to worry about any fluids or any liquids being there to help smooth it out or dissipate the heat. So if you take a light onto a piece of carbon, you can burn it the whole day. It's not going to burn. With greasing your carbon drag washers, your startup drag is going to be a little bit smoother in the beginning, but you're going to lose a fraction on the top end of your drag. When your reel is locked out, your drag is going to spin a little bit smoother than normal. If you can imagine your car brakes, taking a bit of grease and putting them on your car brakes, when it pushes onto your calipers, it's going to slip a bit. but it just makes that startup inertia of your drag a bit smoother in the beginning, where the carbon, because it's rough, will start sticking a bit. So for edible fishing and things like that, I'd say a little bit of grease, I'm talking minuscule amounts of grease on your carbon drag washers, will go a long way. But the main reason we're putting a bit of grease onto our carbon drag washers is to help with, if there is penetration, salt penetration into your carbon drag washers, it's just going to help save that carbon drag washer from that salt and that salt building up on that washer, and help keep your reel running smoother for longer. Anyway, guys, I hope that's been a bit informative. Brands out there, Spaniard, brilliant brand, guys. Worth, as we know, German engineered, brilliant stuff. Q-Fish, Blue Devil, the top boys in the market when it comes to aerosol, so try to stick to some of those brands. When it comes to real grease, I'd say off the shelf in South Africa, Pen, in my eyes. There are other manufacturers out there making real greases and things like that. It's always readily available and value for money, and probably the best real grease you can get off the shelf. And then hopefully we're going to see some of the really top-end stuff coming to the country in the next couple of months. We'll let you know as soon as that drops. We'll definitely let the world know if that does get into the country or not. And then when it comes to oil, try to get other Pen oil. I know there's some hot sources out there. There's a lot of different companies that make Pacific Reel oil, but make sure you get something specifically for reels. If not, try the Singer 3-in-1 oil, and you won't be disappointed, guys. Anyway, keep those reels clean. You'll keep them lasting longer. You'll lose less fish. It'll save you time and save you money. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. Cheers.